Sun City is the tourism heartbeat of our province. Please experience its magnificence like never before. Since is the second day of the third G20 Sherpa meeting, I trust you have a safe, enjoyable, and a productive first day in our province. And you have now rested, and you will participate meaningfully in all the activities planned for this auspicious G20 Sherpas meeting. Chair, we sincerely delighted as a province to be part of these historic activities, whereby the first G20 meeting on African soil takes place in our country. I hope that delegates to this meeting will make time to take a short left to view our beautiful province. I hope you have all added in your itinerary and in your program to take a game drive into our Pilanesberg National Park, a protected game reserve with an alkali ring complex, remnants of a vast volcano around 1.3 billion years old. The Pilanesberg is a rare type of volcano categorized as an alkali ring complex due to the mineral content of the fascinating geography. Ladies and gentlemen and distinguished guests, as South Africa's presidency of the G20 will be held under the theme Solidarity, Equality, Sustainability, a theme that seeks to harness global will and capabilities to confront the enormous challenges the world is facing. Our challenges as the Northwest Province are mainly unemployment, poverty, and inequality. The Northwest Province will use the South Africa's G20 presidency to push for the domestication of the G20 benefits in order to register tangible progress and local impact. As a province, we need to strengthen our ability to be disaster resilient and responsive, mobilize finance for a just energy transition, and to harness our critical minerals for inclusive growth and development. Honorable Minister, as you are in Bojanala Platinum District, tourism as an export sector represents approximately 6% of the total global exports and ranks fourth of all economic sectors behind fuels, chemicals, and automotive products as an export sector. The tourism sector is labor intensive and allows for relative ease of entry into the market with limited barriers. Policymakers have identified tourism development as a solution to employ large numbers of unemployed youth, women, and lowly skilled people. Tourism, mining, agriculture sector are the backbone of the economy of this province. Therefore, we'll work hard to ensure that the G20 presidency will fully benefit us as we seek to grow our economy and support the development of our country and continent. Ladies and gentlemen, as the Northwest Provincial Government, we are fully behind the outlined priorities of the South Africa G20 presidency, centered on inclusive economic growth, industrialization, employment, and reduced inequality. I trust this meeting will be successful and our deliberations will be to the benefit of all, and in particular global South countries, which are inundated by challenges of unemployment, poverty, and income, and really in terms of inequality. Thank you very much, Chair of the session.
Thank you very much, Honorable Premier of the Northwest Province, Mr. Lazarus Mahosi, Mr. Zain Dengo, the G20 Sherpa, and the Director General of the Department of International Relations and Cooperation of South Africa. Sherpas from the G20 members, invited guests, and international organizations present, members of the Economic Committee, Northwest Provincial Government, the Free State Provincial Government, and the Northern Cape Provincial Government, senior officials from the national departments and the Northwest Province, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, and members of the diplomatic corps. In this day, 26 June 1955, the people of South Africa from all walks of life congregated under the hawkish eyes of the apartheid government in Kliptown, Soweto, and declared the following: "We, the people of South Africa, declare for all our country and the world to know that South Africa belongs to all who live in it, black and white, and that no government can justly claim authority unless it is based on the will of the people. That our people have been robbed of their birthright to land, liberty, and peace by a form of government founded on injustice and inequality. That our country will never be prosperous or free until all our people live in brotherhood, enjoying equal rights and opportunities. That only a democratic state based on the will of the people can secure to all their birthright without distinctions of color, race, sex, or belief. And therefore, we, the people of South Africa, black and white, together equals countrymen and brothers, adopt this Freedom Charter." I'm sharing this pledge with you, people of the world, because this was 70 years ago, under the dark days and the inhuman conditions of apartheid in South Africa. But the people of South Africa still came together to declare a future that they wanted to see for themselves and for the people of the world. They didn't only stop in their declaration on their vision only for South Africans, but they continued and declared for the people of the world and said, "There shall be peace and friendship in the world. South Africa shall be a fully independent state which respects the rights and the sovereignty of all nations. South Africa shall strive to maintain world peace and settlement of all international disputes by negotiations, not war. Peace and friendship among all people shall be secured by upholding the equal rights, opportunities, and the status of all." The Freedom Charter became the foundational document of our Constitution when South Africa became free years later in 1994. It informs our constitutional and international outlook. It is the bedrock of our human rights outlook domestically and internationally. So when you hear us anchoring our international relations policy and perspectives on human rights, it has got 70-year-old foundation. It will never change, whatever the circumstances, because this is a foundation that is deeply ingrained in the DNA of our Constitution. We are glad you are here in our country in this important day to find solutions to the people of the world. I hope your colleagues from the other Sherpa tracks and the other working groups who have been meeting in our country since the beginning of this year have told you about the scenic beauties of our country that they have seen, from Cape Town, Table Mountain, in Durban, from the Kruger National Park, and here in the Sun City, in the Northwest, the Pilanesberg National Game Reserve, National Park, and many other beautiful parts of our country, where many of your countrymen have been to attend various G20 meetings. We are glad that you continue to participate, to make inputs, to make the world a better place in our beautiful country. I've heard the DG that you had also a very beautiful and nice dinner last evening. I can boast, and I know that you have enjoyed it, that our wine is one of the best. We meet today at a time of profound geo-economic tensions that continues to weigh on the global economy. Across the world, we have seen various institutions, such as the World Bank and the IMF, amongst others, revising down the global growth prospect in the wake of the geo-economic tensions. The African economies, and indeed here at home, will also face various headwinds. These moments make the current engagements even more important in revitalizing the world economies and indeed exploring opportunities for Africa and South Africa. In the very province we are today, the Northwest, lies beneath the soil, many opportunities and resources. The province is not just rich in minerals, it is the heartbeat of the global energy and the tech revolution. Beneath this soil lies the world platinum, gold, uranium, the copper for wires, the vanadium for batteries, the fluorspar for medical tech. These are not just rocks, they are the DNA of electric vehicles, renewable grids, and life-saving isotopes. They are the heart of the global commerce. Yet there is a stark paradox. While the world runs our resources, the value does not stay here. The minerals leave raw, the batteries, the solar panels, the cancer treatments are made elsewhere. The export wealth, but imported back, is transformed value. This is a phenomenon we see across the African continent, extraction of raw minerals and materials. In an award-winning book, Cobalt Red Sedita, Kara argues that it's the blood of the Congo that powers our lives. This is why South Africa's G20 presidency puts forward a critical minerals framework that will rewrite this anomaly and revitalize our industrial strategies and manufacturing capabilities. Enables us to be able to export value-added products to the world. Today's system is unsustainable. A mineral-rich nations, our path of development must be on equal terms, and importantly, empower the citizens of our countries through job opportunities and economic development. The global north and the global south must work together to ensure there is beneficiation at source, that everyone is able to produce at source and be able to participate in the global mainstream economic trajectory. Ladies and gentlemen, our mission is clear. We must turn these buried treasures into local jobs, factories, and sovereignty. Equally, the value we create will still empower the world as we will seek to continuously export and strengthen global commerce. This is not just economics, it's solidarity, equality, and sustainability, the theme of our presidency. And without doubt, the G20 is a platform that can ensure the era of extraction without equity ends, and we begin an era of true partnership and collaboration for the good of sustainable development across countries, not just a few, that will be mutually beneficial for all of us. This important meeting, which comes at the midpoint of South Africa's historic G20 presidency, but which is also coincide with unprecedented global turmoil, both geopolitical and geo-economical. Aristotle observed, and his observation is proving itself once again to be correct, and I quote, "It is more difficult to organize a peace than to win a war. But the fruits of victory will be lost if the peace is not organized." Close quote. No peace will organize itself in any part of the world. It needs the global community to stand together in solidarity to find peaceful resolutions to disputes across the globe. According to the OECD States of Fragility 2025 Assessment Report, the number of armed conflict is at its highest level since Cold War, with state-based conflicts including proxy wars, civil wars, coups, rankings as the top global risk for 2025. State rivals are fueling fragmentation with economic decoupling and proxy conflicts undermining global stability. These international competition dynamics are exacerbating fragility in vulnerable regions whilst also weakening multilateral institutions that underpin the rules-based international order that is anchored on a rule of law. These are not just words here on our continent. We have seen humanitarian crisis that is on a scale that the world has never seen before, with the conflict in Sudan. I venture to say this is no longer a crisis, but a moral emergency that demands our collective consciousness and humanity. It is a catastrophe of unimaginable proportion. Over 30 million people require life-saving aid in Sudan, and more than 12 million have been displaced in Africa's gravest displacement crisis in modern history. This needs our collective efforts as members of the G20 and those who believe in multilateralism in the global system. with the UN at its pinnacle. State sovereignty and the right to development and security are fundamental to a functioning international order. Now we see violation of these fundamental principles of territorial sovereignty and political independence enshrined in Article 2.4 of the UN Charter, as some stretch self-defense into speculation. Following last week's US military strikes in the Iran, United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres said, and I quote, "At this perilous hour, it is critical to avoid a spiral of chaos." We understood the United Nations promise 8 years ago, collective security over cohesion, the extinguishing of the law of the jungle. Alas, we find ourselves in an evolving global disorder that brings with it many perils for the weak and for the vulnerable. As South Africa, we have adopted an anti-war stance. This is because we know too well that war offers no victors, only victims. Double standards in diplomacy and the paralysis at the UN Security Council have crippled conflict resolution, mediation, and peace efforts. These systematic challenges must be addressed to reclaim a global rationality that builds on stability, peace, certainty, and sustainability. And all of us in this room and all members of the global community have got the responsibility to strengthen the hands of the UN Security Council to be able to play its meaningful role of bringing peace to the people of the world. The world needs more diplomacy and peace with the UN at its pinnacle. Ladies and gentlemen, economic and technological pressures are immense and place further strain on a fatigued international system. The ever-worrying debt crisis, supply chain disruptions, and the geo-economic confrontation, including tariffs, only intensify instability and cause immeasurable pain, particularly on countries of the Global South and Africa in particular. The current and troubling global economic environment signify a major trend towards economic nationalism. Some states are distancing themselves from the globalized trade framework that has prevailed for many decades and underpin this rules-based system of non-discrimination and shared values. We must avoid this path, as we all know too well that trade is an engine for economic development and improvement in standards of living across nations. Your Excellencies, the digital economy undoubtedly continues to develop at a rapid pace, presenting both unprecedented opportunities and deepening inequalities across the globe. We must act with purpose to support digital transformation, equitable access to data and infrastructure, and support innovation with a human-centric focus, and also bringing Africa into this space. It being a very youthful continent, it gives an opportunity to the people of the world to provide innovation and the energy that is needed to power these new technologies the world is observing. The said cyber and hybrid warfare coupled with AI-driven threats create asymmetric risks, accelerating conflict escalation and reducing diplomatic windows of opportunities to act. The OECD report that I quoted earlier further identifies and unpacks other very troubling trends. It estimates that 2 billion people live in fragile contexts, accounting for 72% of the world's extreme poor. They face climate-driven disasters, such as adverse and dangerous natural phenomena, including severe heat waves, devastating floods, hurricanes, droughts, heat waves, and wildfires, which exacerbate human insecurity. Food security is of a particular concern to us all, as its causes are both climate-driven and geopolitically imposed. These systematic challenges additionally extend to other key of human security concerns, which are amplified by transitional threats, including the forced migration crisis, pandemics, and resource scarcity. Sadly, sustainable development remains an aspirational goal, not only for the G20, but the world at large. We are now only 5 years from the Agenda 2030 deadline, yet only 17% of the Sustainable Development Goals are on track, while 35% are stagnating or regressing. Honorable delegates, it is more than apparent that in the absence of sustained and continuous multilateral cooperation, coupled with much needed reform to the existing global governance architecture, these systematic challenges and highly probable risks will continue to undermine the rules-based international system anchored on international law, entrenching inequality, unraveling global solidarity, and creating the potential for irreversible fragmentation. Transformational and peace-oriented diplomacy has become more relevant than ever before. Revitalizing diplomacy and honest, transparent engagements are critical to mitigating these challenges and creating conditions for credible peace, stability, and equitable shared economic prosperity. Diplomacy's role in peace and security and human rights must be underscored by fundamental international norms, values and principles that underpin humanity. And there must be a clear affirmation of the UN as the pinnacle to achieve all these objectives. The G20 can lead in a moment of crisis. The G20 can help address and also buttress and support the work of multilateral system anchored on the UN. The G20 can also ensure that our collective humanity is not abandoned. It can play a role of persuasive force to the various multilateral platforms. Our deliberations can no longer just be for us, but they must enable to influence the world. They must be of persuasive value. Our shared prosperity now, more than ever, demands collaboration that pursues solutions that address some of the most pressing global challenges confronting humanity and impacting on a global growth and development. We must be able to be that persuasive force that the world is looking for to find solutions in this difficult period. I wish you well in all your deliberations and look forward to read the outcomes that must take the world to the next level of peace and prosperity. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much to both the Premier and to the Minister. I think both inputs resonated with some of the discussions we've had yesterday and also reminded us of our foundational values of human rights, equality, peace, and justice. But also, both speakers introduced the notions of economic and social justice and also resource sovereignty, key issues that we discuss at various levels within the G20. Colleagues, this brings to an end the high-level session. We thank the Premier and the Minister. They may choose to sit in on some of the deliberations on the report backs